Morning, ma'am. May we have the permission to start, ma'am?
Good morning, please.
Ma'am, I, as head of MD, as MD, Army Welfare Education Society, welcome our President, Army Welfare Association. And it's a pleasure, it's an honor, and you have been really a guiding light as far as this initiative is concerned. I may, before I hand over to the lady, I may just introduce some of the people who are here today, ma'am. One is Mrs. Simi Datta. She is the General Secretary of AWA. Mrs. Archana Pandey, Mrs. Monica Kakar from the headquarters. Then we have Regional President, Mrs. Anu Claire. We have Mrs. Lakshmi Srinivas from MAU. We have Mrs. Deepti Singh and Mrs. Tashina Karyappa. And we have a large number of chairmen and principals who are actually going to drive this whole concept, ma'am. And I will quickly give out schedule for the webinar. Presentation. Yeah, so the schedule for the day is, ma'am, we start with opening remarks of AWA. After that, I'll cover the initiative that we have planned for ourselves as far as inclusive education is concerned. We have speakers, Mrs. Vanilla Ravi. She is an expert on special education, and she'll be talking to us on inclusive education in the context of Army Public Schools. She is well known in the environment and actually has pulse of the ground. We have Dr. V.S. Ravindran, who is an educational psychologist. He's an expert in his field and heads one of the great organizations in Delhi. And he shall be talking to us on sensitization and orientation for inclusive education. We have Professor Dr. Usha Grover, again, one of the known faces in this field. She will be talking to us modalities for implementing inclusive education. And what I have also requested the audience is that they will keep chatting, sending their questions through a chat. We have a 20 minutes question answer session at the end of it. And before I sum up and thank all the participants. Ma'am, may I request now President AWA to address us?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You cannot imagine the pleasure it gives me to be part of this webinar today. The first reason is that this is my very first webinar and I'm feeling all grown up and excited about it. The second is that it is a dream come true, an environment of learning and a free flow of ideas where we all together on what is best for our biggest asset, our children. At the outset, I appreciate and congratulate the Army Welfare Education Society for taking the lead in organizing this webinar. Thank you very much, General Rana. As we all know, inclusive education is now a buzzword. It is mandated by the Government of India and consequently by CBSE. We can no longer ignore its imperativeness or pressing need. An alarming number of children in our schools are facing challenges that are not only robbing them of the joy of learning, but are also progressively reducing their chances at academic success. Friends, Army Wise Welfare Association, under the leadership of my very able predecessor, Mrs. Rawat, took a baby step in this direction by establishing a resource room aptly named Asha Kiran in one of our schools. Subsequently, more resource rooms were set up in other commands. However, as we went along, we realized the enormity of this task and began to feel the need of a more empowered apex body to handle this domain. I'm extremely grateful that AVIS is gearing itself to meet this challenge. I feel that we will make a great beginning if we all understand correctly what we mean by inclusion. At the end of this webinar, I hope to emerge a more informed person thanks to our expert speakers for today. I also hope that our speakers will be able to put to rest once and for all mysticism, skepticism, cynicism, or any other ism with regard to the right of every child to have a fair chance at education. I am also more than willing to make a mid-course corrections to anything that has been done so far by AWA for inclusive education. In the end, I assure you, General Raina, and all stakeholders that AWA, under the direction of AVIS, will do everything in its power to make inclusive education a ground reality. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you very much, ma'am. In fact, it's so encouraging, and I hope we'll institutionalize this mechanism so that this concept takes forward, not only takes it forward the way we have visualized, probably it will gain momentum with the guidance of our President Awa. Thank you very much, ma'am. Having said that, I shall straightway come to how we dream of taking this forward. Ladies and gentlemen, having heard President Awa, I wish to intimate that we had prepared a detailed concept paper, which is roughly 60 pages. It is on our website, which actually gives out the entire spectrum of inclusive education. I have started with how the world started looking at it and how India and in particular CBSE has been passing directions to schools to look towards inclusivity. Having said that, I had created a hypothesis for myself which talks about that actually our organizational structures are inadequate to meet the requirements of inclusivity. And AWS of its own possibly cannot drive this exercise. Therefore, it requires assistance of other external agencies, be it our internal, that is our local military authorities, or the other regulatory bodies. To name a few, we have this Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, and also our RCI, and some other bodies which are doing human service towards inclusivity. I had drawn these objectives of this whole process was to promote and frame policies to transit from integrated, what Mrs. Naravne just highlighted, that some steps were taking towards integration. And subsequently, I have drawn a roadmap how we can achieve inclusivity. Second was to frame modalities for implementation at command headquarters, local military authorities, and the main drivers are the schools and the parents. I have framed some charter of duties, giving out some timelines, which I shall cover today. I've also worked on some infrastructure, administrative and academic procedures that need to be put in place. It's just the beginning. This beginning will be taken forward by our August panelists that we have today and some more. And we shall frame some guidelines, have framed some for resource rooms as the general guideline, which will again be taken forward by respective schools based on the requirements which are peculiar to each. We have taken on ourselves training the special educators. Today in our system, we have only 117 special educators across 137 Army public schools. There are also some fully trained and some are semi-trained or locally trained. We hope to get them through a certified course through various agencies here. And this we intend doing by our inclusive system We had identified 15 schools in collaboration with the commands, and now we have added Jaipur also. We carried out outreach to the environment. Besides our inward looking, we have spoken to a large number of experts, and I am grateful to Dr. Grover, who keeps interacting with us regularly, and even Mrs. Ravi. We have done an information gathering and data inputs from the environment. Today we know roughly where we are. And I have framed a concept paper, which I just talked about, is on website. It's a long paper, but please look at it, what is relevant to us. And I'm in the process of formalizing these guidelines with our active support and guidance of AWA. Ladies and gentlemen, what is on the view file is those 21. Now these numbers are not important, is what our guidelines, which is basically an act of parliament, identifies roughly these 21 types of categories. Then NCERT has focused on these 5 major disabilities, because speech and hearing they are combined, so numbers are not important. But they have talked about speech, hearing and visual impairments, ortho impairments, mental retardation, or what we call it today is intellectual. And then is the learning disability. What is profound in our system, beside these, what NCERT has talked about, is something called learning difficulties. Those learning difficulties come in because of a child's frequent move, and our environment is such that he finds, so today he's in a Punjab culture and he suddenly lands in a Telugu culture. So he has he finds a different type of environment, color, creed, language barriers. Therefore, these difficulties are created of such peculiarities which are to our system. We have identified 15, please add Jaipur to the 16. And I have not talked about APPS and ASHA schools, because ASHA school is a standalone mode with 37 of them in our environment. They are doing a human service. They will continue to do that. But these 16 stations are co-located with ASHA schools and Army pre-primary schools. I am looking at them to develop a linkage to see an integrated model coming up. We have identified as Army Institute of Education, which is at Greater Noida, as a testing lab, because that is the only organization within armed forces which is certified by RCI. Therefore, they become our experimental hub. They are our link for certification, coordination, testing, and reliability, validity testing of this concept. Besides, we hope to draw Academic Advisory Council on inclusive education. We are in the process of identifying suitable personalities, and some of them you can hear today. About these 16 schools status check, what I want to just highlight is we have just about identified 88 children. And we have just about 8 special educators. Last 4 months, since January, schools have made efforts to hire some more special educators because of COVID-19. The process is not yet complete, but we are also in touch with some of the people here who are producing special educators, and whosoever is requiring, we can make them connect with each other. So hopefully we should be able to find those special educators for where they are, places where they are not there. So I'm looking at a collaborative and interactive approach, and this is what we are following today. Formulation of guidelines, phase-wise implementation plan, the concept proof and pilot project approval through Army Institute of Education, financial approvals and investment. I'm happy to announce that 15 lakhs per these 15 schools, because Jaipur was not included then, has already been approved, and additional 10 lakhs for the connectivity part is a separate part of it, and a roadmap has been worked out. As far as the commands are concerned, I look at administrative monitoring and evaluation process to be in place. I am aware about the depleting strength of Army Welfare Education Society faculty there or members there, but we hope to make it up with some academic advisory council member who will help this director AWS to assist in monitoring and evaluation. And I also hope that automation should resolve to some of our problems, which today are because our footprint is limited. As far as the local military authorities are concerned, it is the implementation, administration in terms of both infrastructure, architectural, as well as academic performance, the technological upgrade, academic support, first comes special educator, then this extend this concept to and take maybe assistance of ASHA school special educators in the station. We are addressing this data and communication management together and a system of drawing a feedback, monitoring and evaluation system. I am looking at building a synergy, interdependent between APS, Army Pre-Primary School and the ASHA school. The biggest or the most important stakeholder in this whole process is the school. School has to draw on this academic intervention policies. So they actually play a leadership role. They have to be proactive in implementation. And one of the primary responsibilities, early identification and early intervention, which includes taking assistance from the medical authorities at our stations, appointment of special educators and counselors. Certain resource rooms are available and we are trying to give some more into this building of these resource room facilities at these places. Curriculum requires a total change. This is what we will, with experts in the field, will supply it to various these schools to see that it is in tune with what the environment is looking at. That includes timetable planning, coordination, and what is one of the most important part is getting parent on board, looking at the individual requirements of a child and carry out some assessment modalities. Teacher empowerment will at AWS will play a major role in tying up with various agencies directly and through AIE. Infrastructure I talked about. What is required at each station is what the station commanders and the schools know better. But we have laid down a module. You may pick up whatever is relevant to you. Technological upgrade, procurement, not only of hardware and software, but disability friendly softwares are available in the market, which we'll share with the schools. That procurement, and again in communication upgrade is internet bandwidth, Wi-Fi connectivity, two-way digital connect, and then linking with ASHA school and the APPS so that we are in a position to have a viable data management here. I have given it in 3 parts. Time plan, firstly, what has already happened? We have had large number of meetings with experts in last about 5 months now. We have carried out visit, and anyone who is coming to Delhi, you may please visit Amar Jyoti Charitable Trust. It is one of the pioneer institutes doing actually inclusivity. But the model cannot be replicated by us, but we have picked up all good things out of it. We have written the concept paper and the guidelines are also in the pipeline. What is happening now is what today we started with webinar outreach, guideline dissemination by AWS through various means, and the faculty empowerment. What I intend doing in the month of June is to identify and focus on the special educators and general teachers whom we can put through this series of webinars. We have drawn a plan from 1st June to 30th of June. We should be able to conduct 4 such 5 days capsules. And we shall also try to cover maximum principles, including APPS principles, by a 1-day seminar. And what is going to happen is basically from July onwards, once it unfolds on ground, we will continue to carry out regular interaction and feedback and connect with experts on the ground so that we are on the right path. And as President Awa just mentioned, a mid-course correction can continue to happen after every 3 months. I've also similarly said what command headquarters, local military authority, and school levels are doing. We have got hold of the data, which is a continuous process. We hope in next 2 months, that is May and June, we put into this infrastructure implementation on ground, and we hope that from July onwards, we should roll out something what we just highlighted. AWA has taken an active initiative, and we hope that through a series of meeting discussions and suggestions at various levels, we should be able to refine and reorient our energies as we proceed further. It's a two-way communication channel between AWA, local military authority, commands, and us. And we hope to refine this whole concept post 2021 once we roll it out further. I talked about the task of Army Institute of Education, and we hope to see some regulations and concept taking concrete shape. I have given out the step one is what is for headquarter AWS to do. I have talked about these, and I've also talked about that fund allotment of 15 lakh per school ex CTS, which hopefully should be coming through. I may also tell you that our schools are financially vibrant. They can start off this, and this money is coming in the pipeline so that we don't lose time. The implementation during May, June is what I talked about, is this orientation, sensitization, and improvement through webinars, through interactions, and through getting a direct connect between the experts and the local military authorities and the schools. Commands need to take concerted efforts to accelerate, because that acceleration will set the pace for Indian Army. And I can assure you that Indian Army will set the pace for the nation because of our reach to all corners of the countryside. Outcome relative objectives of pilots and gearing for APSs to integrate these children, which are marginal cases, especially of learning difficulties, which I just talked about. Continuous faculty upgradation is a must. Beside what we are doing, there are large number of online small capsules. I'm sure the faculty at each level, that is at the station level or in the school level, make use of this, and we will also give our advice and help them in connecting with various agencies to do that. Flexible curriculum. As I talked about, ASHA schools will continue to function. There may be one odd child whose parents are keen to push him to the mainstream. We should facilitate that. I may also caution, without losing sight of inclusivity, it should not retard the performance of our school or high performance children. And what I'm also been in the learning curve now, I find that such children actually improve performance of the high performance also. Medical support and parental health groups is one of the essential things as far as stations and the local military authority is concerned. As far as training is concerned, anyone who will visit FDRC at AWS headquarters will go through 1 day's inclusivity. And I'm happy to say that last 4 months, we have trained a large number of people who have come here on this 1 day inclusivity. And Dr. Usha Grover will highlight her views as to what was the outcome from these people who are coming here, because she has been regularly in touch with them. This general awareness is very important. And at the end of this 2 months' time, if this awareness proliferates, itself is an, I think, achievement by Army Institute of Education. I talked about why they are the only ones who are actually designated to run B.Ed special educator course. They have a strategic role. So therefore, they will help us in development of curriculum, certifications. They will act as a catalyst, providing guest faculty to us. We are trying to work MOU with RCI and some other on certification of these courses that are being run. We hope to have 5 days course for special educators subsequently at this place, and also 5 days course for some teachers, because I am of the firm belief that all teachers in our ecosystem must know what this inclusivity is. They must be able to take it forward. I quickly share this. This is a particular layout. It need not be in one room. It could be in 2 rooms, a number of rooms based on what is available. And it will not be everything to be there. But this is a particular structure which I have already shared it, but I'll just flash it. Similarly, we carried out a vital, essential, and desirable analysis of equipment. Vital is what is common to all. Essential is something which we know are, also in what is in our know. And desirable are finally what we should achieve after a few years. We have identified the cost. This has been shared with various schools. It is just as a guideline. It is just to put you at rest that there is enough money to take care of the requirements of the project, what we are looking at. Before I end, I just wanted to say it's a collaborative approach, proactive, synergetic of thought and action between various stakeholders. And I find beside the parent and the child, we all have to play our role in mainstreaming these children with special needs. Thank you very much. Now, may I invite Mrs. Ravi. Mrs. Vanilla Ravi, the environment is well aware of her pioneering role. She has moved around most of the commands. She is the one, she was the driving force behind Asha Kiran projects. She will talk to us on this sensitization and she will talk to us on this existing ecosystem and how it can be integrated towards this inclusivity. And she'll give us a ground reality check. Over to Mrs. Ravi, ma'am.
Good morning, Ms. Narami, President Ava, Chairman, General Raina, and all the distinguished members. A very good morning to each one of you. Today, I'm very much elated and very, very happy. It's a joyous moment because AVA and EVES has come together for this initiative. It is a dream come true, as Ms. Narame has said. I'm associated with Mrs. Narame for quite a long time regarding this inclusive project. She is very well aware of what I'm doing. But when AVA and EVES comes together, it is an elated moment because this is the time which I'm really looking forward. Having said this, I will start with my presentation. The topic of So can you see my screen, sir?
Yes, I can see.
Yeah, okay, I'll go ahead with this. The topic allotted to me is inclusive education in the context of Avi public schools. I would like to share my experiences. And in 3 parts I'm going to cover. One is ground realities, because as already General Raina has mentioned, I've been extensively conducting workshops across all commands, and 4 of the principals of those schools are attending this workshop. One is Jalandhar, Jodhpur, Udhampur, and Chandimandir. So they are very well aware of this concept from my perspective. inclusive education, the moment you talk about inclusive education, what comes to your mind? Everyone thinks about children with special needs. For me, if we see in a broader perspective, it is catering to every child's need, irrespective of the ability or disability. That means the child may be having a learning challenge, as already General Raina has mentioned, the learning difficulties, because very peculiar to our own system, that is Army. We have our own set of challenges. So we create a lot of system created challenges for the children to create more learning problems. Here, I would like to agree with General Raina's statements, whatever he had made, but regarding the statistics, when I show the reality check, that is the reason they've given me this opportunity to give me the reality check, what in my experience, I've experienced throughout these workshops. First, when I talk about these ground realities, all of us are aware, because all of us sitting here, or most of them are educationists, and quality education is the crux for a soldier, which we have committed as an organization. Here, I would like to share my perspective, not only as a professional, as wedded to an olive green for the past 30 years, and as a mother of 2 children who had faith in the system and sent my children only to Army schools. So I can see as a wife, as an Army officer's wife, as a formation commander's wife, and as well as a mother, as well as a professional. I would like to give you the complete perspective, what I feel about it. Because I've been extensively interacting with the parents, as well as the teachers, as well as the principals. Everybody has their own set of problems. I know the AVA and AVES have come into existence to see the bright future of every child. This is the commitment which they have given to the soldier, because even now, every day we come to know the soldier is fighting against an enemy. Why should he fight? Because he knows there is someone else who is going to take care of his family. If he goes to his job, he need not worry about his family or his child, because there are organizations which really take care of them. Who are they? One is AVA, which takes care of their family and their needs, and the AVES, which takes care of their child's education. That was the reason AVES has come into existence, because we have, otherwise we would have gone for Kendriya Vidyalayas, government schools or corporate schools. Why this organizations come into existence? Because we know we have a different set of challenges which other people can't appreciate, or whether they can't see from our perspective. So that was the reason AVES has come into existence. So here, one more point which I want to reiterate is, here the major chunk of Army is with infantry, and infantry soldier doesn't have much of education, because either is 10th pass or 12th pass. Why am I talking about all these things? This is the reality, and these are the issues which are aggravating the child's problems more. Because I have one more panelist, Dr. Ravindran. He'll be talking about more psychological aspects, and I just wanted to give what an Army family or a child undergoes, so that he will get a better perspective from a mother, as well as a professional, as well as a Army officer's wife. Here, when the parent is not educated and he comes from a rural background, the mother is also not able to understand the child. The moment the child is underperforming, it's a major concern for both the parents, and the mother is not able to address the issue. So the additional responsibility, again, it comes back to the organization, AVES and AVA. And there is one more trend which I observed is school dropouts after 8th standard. Why it is happening? And either they're changing their schools, or there are school dropouts. The major concern, when I understood the reason behind it, in my perspective only I'm talking, I found because of the no detention policy, the child who is being shifted from place A to place B, or as already General Raina mentioned, because of the vernacular language, the schools, he shifts from place like any rural area, he comes to a school in a city or an APS, which talks about only in English medium, he is not able to cope up. There is a gap. But where are we addressing those children? These are major issues which I found in my experience. These children are being dropped out, or they're changing because after 8th standard, there is no retention policy. So the child has to be either promoted to class 9th, which is not up to the mark, or he's been shifted to another school because the school administration directly or indirectly tells them that your child is not fit. This is what I faced. And when we think about the welfare, the principles are based on empathy. That is our leadership. And I'm very much confident about our leadership. They are very empathetic in nature. And the trust of the soldier is undeniable, and we cannot question their trust because they have ultimate trust in and faith in the organization. The other is management, efficiency. I have ultimate faith, and I am proud that I belong to these organizations, and the efficiency of their management skills are tremendous. And when we think about army families, we have a lot of pressure. As most of us, we do agree, all the ladies who are part of this forum, they will definitely agree how much of stress, emotional trauma a lady undergoes, and indirectly or directly it is being transferred to the child. We don't even think, because the moment we shift from place A to place B, there are lack of accommodation. Jawans, they don't get more peace stations. If they get a peace station also, they don't get accommodation. If they get accommodation also, it is difficult for them to stay put at one place for the whole tenure of a complete tenure of a peace station. So there are all these problems aggravate the situation or aggravate the learning difficulties in a child. We have to factor in all these things, because why am I insisting all these things is the percentage. When I come to the percentage of learning difficulties, it is a huge number. That is the reason I have to build up this background. It is not easy. It is not easy, as sir has written a beautiful paper. I've read all the complete paper. It is extensively researched. The only thing which the ground reality is not matching is the percentage with the learning difficulties because of the system created ones. That is the only percentage which I am not able to agree with General Raina's paper. The other thing, because of all these shifts in the education and parents' lack of knowledge and the amount of pressure or emotional trauma the child undergoes because of the wife, indirectly or directly, if the mother is not able to handle the stress, it is being transferred to the child. And if the child doesn't understand any subject, he can't come back to his mother. Neither the father is available to teach him, or if he is available to teach him also, he is not able to teach him because of his commitments or because of his dearth of knowledge about the subject. And no detention policy. If the child is failing at one place, it is easier to catch hold of him and teach him and then pass him. But unfortunately, we are not able to detain the students who are underperforming. We pass all the children up till 8th standard. This is aggravating the problem, because the father is also happy till the time that my child is promoted and my child is going to the next class. He is also happy. The child is also happy because he is not being stigmatized or traumatized that he's failed. And the system, when I talk to teachers, they're very well aware of the problem, but they say, my hands are tied down, ma'am. We can't do anything because we can't fail the child. So these are the problems. These are the major issues I found in our system. And indirectly or directly, it is going to affect the child's self-esteem. And when we talk about the disability, the moment we talk about inclusive education, we are only thinking about disability. But that percentage of disability in our army schools is minimum, as you rightly suggested. In your paper, it is coming up to 0.8%. That is right. Those are visible disabilities, but the system created ones are not being factored in, because we can't label them. We cannot call them as special needs, or we haven't done an extensive research or a statistic survey for learning disabilities, which are maximum chunk, which I'll be addressing in the latest slides. So the models of disability which we have right now, that is segregation. That means ASHA schools, we have segregated them. And integration, as you rightly suggested, you have chosen the best schools which are co-located with ASHA schools that can be integrated for certain period of time, like co-curricular activities. So that is integration. The other concept is inclusion. When I say inclusion, it is not, don't alienate whoever is with you. Don't, if you get a child with disability or with special needs, please welcome them. There is no, because it is their right. You can't even deny them their admission. Definitely welcome them. But don't alienate our own population, which we have created. That is system, we are part, each one of us are part of the system. The child is the one who is facing the ultimate difficulty. And we talk about acts and policies, as already General Raina mentioned. I'm not going to get into those things. It is their right. Everyone are aware of their rights. As even Mrs. Naramani has also mentioned, it is their right. We can't get away with that. Yes. But does it mean that equality, we are doing justice? Equality means giving admission. But are we doing justice to the child? To the system created child or the disability child? Both ways we are not doing any justice. Because we haven't catered for their requirements. We haven't catered for their needs. Of course, I'm not blaming anyone. This is like a dream come true. Again and again, I'm really wanted this project to take off, because FS has come up, and with the able leadership of AVA, with Mrs. Naramani's guidance and with General Raina's guidance, this is going to take place, and it's going to take a leap, like steps very, very far ahead. And I'm very, very glad that this is taking place. Here, I'm just, because you've given me the topic of reality check, I have to tell the reality, what is there existing in the system. And I'm not going to get into the definition. Any definition says address to the needs of the child, whether whatever he requires, it is rate of learning or style of learning, please address to his needs. That is what inclusive education tells. And when we talk about the structure of APS, here we have management, teachers, students, and infrastructure. As General Raina said, we have beautiful hierarchy, good administration, and finances. There are no dearth of finances, resource availability, everything is perfect. When we come to the weaknesses, yes, local military authorities, they have frequent changes, and they lack specialization because they are meant for some other job. They are not meant for this job. So they do have this as their weakness. And when it comes to teachers, in my experience, when I spoke to each and every teacher in these workshops, every workshop, now the principals are very much witness to it. In every place, I addressed around 100 about teachers. 100 to 150 teachers have addressed in every workshop. It is maybe in Jalandhar, maybe in Jammu, maybe in Jodhpur, maybe in Chandi Mandir. Everywhere it is not less than 100. It is 100 to 150 teachers where I have done workshops in phase 1 for sensitization and addressing the needs and making them aware what are these children with special needs, as well as the system created ones. Then in the phase 2 for 5 days, I've addressed the complete how to identify these children and how to assess these children. During that, my experience, otherwise also as a singular person, I've established resource room in Ahmedabad before this Asha Kiran project took place. And before this Asha Kiran project took place, I established a resource room even in Srinagar. So in my experience, what I found is the teachers are very much enthusiastic, but they have their own issues of huge class sizes, and they can be empathetic. They can say, okay, I know that this child is having a problem, but I'm not able to address the problem because they are not taught in their stream of education. They cannot identify by doing error analysis, this child is having this problem. So in my experience, when I've done the assessment of so many children, at least 10 to 15%, that is out of 40 students, every teacher came up with 5 to 6 students who are underachievers. It can be disability induced or it can be system created ones. But in our scenario, disability induced are very few in number. It is the system created ones. And if we ask as one more person who wants to address their needs, definitely they will come up with these numbers. But if we go as an authority and if we say that you are inefficient to deal with these children, definitely the percentage will come down, because that is what is happening in the reality. And parents and students, because I've done workshops in corporate sector also, there the teacher's major concern is not to address the child's needs. It is the major concern to please the parent. because parent is paying through their nose, and parents are insisting that how come you will not address my child's needs. So they are petrified. And more of the time when I asked what are the challenging behaviors you're finding in your schools and what types of problems your child is facing, they were on and on talking about the parents' issues, not much of the child's issues. So here we have beautiful set of parents who have firm belief in the system. Once they send the child to our school, they rely on us and the system. So it is much more when I see those parents looking up to us that what are you going to do my child, because I'm not able to address his concern and my husband is not here. I feel helpless because it is one person can't do anything. So the other problems with the students and the parents is inconsistency of schooling and lack of understanding of what the child is facing, what type of emotional trauma, because the mother, she herself is struggling with her own concerns. So, and she is not able to help the child in academics. So she will definitely give up. She will say, it is not my job, it is a school job. And school says, if the parents are not cooperative, it is not our job. Yes, I understand, because the school strength is so much, the teachers are not able to address this. So when it comes to infrastructure, we have beautiful infrastructure. I need not mention it. When we compare with KVs and government schools, anything, we are much way ahead in infrastructure facilities. Here I would like to talk about the percentage, where this is the major concern for me. What have I done? Yeah. So here the numbers which I would like to appraise is total number of APS we have 137 and students are around 2.4 lakhs. So I calculated in a generalized manner, that is for 2.4 lakhs out of 137, each school has around 1750. That is the approximate strength, so that you can have an ideal number. It is easy to comprehend. Learning disability according to national statistics or based on research which they've published in Dyslexic Association or individual researchers, they say it is 10 to 15%. But when I've done, according to my experience, the reality check is it is between 2 to 3% only. Visible disabilities, that is, it can be other disabilities which we have recollected in the RPWD Act, or that is hearing impairment, visual impairment, orthopedically handicapped, speech and hearing impairment, which are very much visible and which is easily identifiable by any teacher or any person. Those are visible disabilities here I'm talking about. That comes out to 2.2%. But in the experience, as you have the statistics, even for the 15 schools, you got a number of 84 or 88 children. That is less than 1%. Yes, even in my experience, they are saying it is less than 1% only. For my convenience, I've put 1%, but it is less than 1%, definitely. And the system created, why the system created, I'll say in the national scenario also, it is around 5% they mentioned, but it can be because there, even government schools, when I've done a project with SSA, there also I came to know it is the system created, because there is also no detention policy. Where is the child is having a problem? Nobody is addressing it, that they are being promoted. Those system created problems are also very much available. In the national scenario, it is 5%, but in our scenario, it is 10 to 12. That means out of 40 students, every teacher, every mother who knows about the system, they will agree with these numbers. It is 10 to 12%, because 5 to 6 children in every class, they are having learning problems. Yes, we need not worry, or we need not label them as disabilities. But if we don't address them, the gap is going to widen. And after 8th standard, it is difficult to address. And that is where the child is not able to continue in the mainstream. So 10 to 12%, if you don't, and just giving you an example out of my experience, if a child is studying in class 5, he is underperforming in mathematics. The teacher is teaching at division or some topic, and the child, when we assess, we come to know he is at class 2 level, that is, he is at addition level and subtraction without borrowing. How can the regular teacher address this concern? No matter how many times she teaches the division, she cannot address it. And if the parent wants to send because he or she is not able to address the concern, if she sends him to a tuition teacher also will teach in class 5. If the school says we are giving remedial education also they are teaching at class 5. They take the children in a small group and they start teaching. But you're teaching the same subject either individually or in a small group, but you're not able to identify where the child has a problem. And English is a major concern because the child suddenly, the parent gets a police station, the child pulls him out from a rural school, Hindi medium or vernacular, that it can be Tamil, Telugu and whatever it is, and he comes to an APS, it is an English medium school. And nobody is addressing his concern. He's been admitted because his age is 8 years or 9 years. He'll be admitted in class 3, but he doesn't know how to read a sentence in English. This English will hamper all his subjects. But we are not, because if I ask the teacher says yes. And after the complete assessment, everywhere we found out of 1,000 children, the school principals, I request all the school principals at the end of the session, you please give a realistic appreciation of whatever you found and whatever difficulties you faced regarding establishment of resource room at the end, so that we can have a reality check, so that we can address the problem, not to cover the problem, because here the chairman Eves is sitting, as well as the President Ava is sitting. This is a beautiful platform. What all concerns as an educator we have, or as a principal you have, please address right away. This is a wonderful opportunity. That is what I feel. So 10 to 12, when we come down to statistics, 2 to 3 means it's 52 children. And visible disability is 17, at the come to 10 also, I'm not denying. But the system created ones, it is 210. Here it's the complete school. If we come down to only primary, because I can talk about primary because I've done only up till primary, I haven't addressed the issues from secondary because it is a humongous effort. It is not possible for me to address. That is the reason we started with primary. If we say 10% also, out of 1,000 students, 100 students we will get only system created and visible and learning disabilities. If these 10%, if we go for 100, in that, if we address in 1 or 2 years, they will be promoted. Definitely, they will show leaps and bounds because they are the ones who have potential and they need to be addressed because they don't have any disabilities. It is we have created those problems in that child, and the child is going to suffer throughout his life. As ma'am has suggested in the first few minutes of meeting itself, if we don't address those needs, there is a threat for social delinquency. And we are not fulfilling the dreams of the soldier where he had ultimate faith in the organization. These are the major concerns. And if we have one special educator can deal with maximum. Here, when we talk about visible and learning disability, if this strength, if she can address, that is a major effort. And rest of the children, of 100 children who have the system created problems, if she has to address, the counselor or special educator need to address this huge number, it is beyond her capacity. It is not possible. Because in a class of 40 students, if the teacher is unable to address of different needs for 5 to 6 children and they are continuously underperforming, how come a special educator can address this huge number? That is the major concern. When we talk about Asha Kiran and what is beyond Asha Kiran, the Asha Kiran is nothing but a resource room setup, which is initiated by AVA. I'm very grateful to that because AVA has thought about it. When I spoke about it, they really agreed. They said, yes, it should be done. And they've taken up this initiative. And we have established a lot of resource rooms in pre-primary and primary to achieve the zero reject. Whoever comes to you, don't reject them, give them admission. But at the same time, don't alienate the system created problems. Then only we can call it as inclusive education. It is not that welcoming children with special needs and the children who have the potential and the system created ones, you are alienating them. Then that doesn't work out. What is this resource room? Most of the schools are aware. When I do the workshops, I will again reiterate and I will tell them how it should be done. It is basically to address the needs of the child. However he wants to learn, the way he can understand, we have to be empathetic and teach them. Can be addressed in this resource room. It can be borderline intelligence, it can be mild intellectual disabilities, specific learning disabilities, sensory impairments, emotional disturb, and autism. All these can be addressed because all these problems will showcase in the form of a learning problem or scholastic backwardness. So the major concern of any parent or a teacher is the child should perform well in the academics. So for that, if you have a support system called resource room, you can address these problems over here. I'm not going to go into much of details. What model I've done in all these resource rooms is having a special educator, 1 or 2 special educators, but there are dearth of special educators. So who can address their needs? And the system created ones can be addressed by regular educators. Just we have to teach them how to identify and assess these by giving workshops. Once they are trained in those, because they already have the subject expertise. If I get a child out of those 100 children, I might find those 20 children can be like they can be helped by the parent as well as the regular class teacher. Rest of the children who have major discrepancies, that 2-class discrepancy or 3-class discrepancy, they can be addressed in the resource room. So it should be a team of experts. A counselor will be addressing the challenging behaviors in these children, and she will be looking into the sensitization of the parents and peers, because peers, they will start bullying, because if we don't appraise what are these conditions is all about. So we have to address, and parents have to be addressed, teachers have to be addressed, and peers have to be addressed. That can be done by a counselor. And the special needs children who are like less than 1% and LD, that is hidden handicap, until unless you go for extensive diagnosis process, you can't come to know who has an LD, learning disability. So those children can be addressed by a special educator. Rest of the system created ones can be addressed by these subject teachers. This is the model which I suggested, and we established resource rooms in this manner. And as General Raina suggested, we should have interface and we should keep upgrading their knowledge. All these need to be done. And this is the process how we go about to establish a resource room. It is like parents' home behavior, emphasis on diagnosis of other any factors factoring for their scholastic backwardness. All these things will take into consideration. What is the roadmap beyond Asha Kiran? Yes, General Raina already had spoken about this, but my perspective I would like to share, because they've asked my perspective. First stage is establishment of resource room. Here you're going to sensitize the complete environment regarding the management, teachers, peers, everyone. The sensitization should take place before establishment of resource room, or the concrete establishment of resource room can be done. But once before the child comes to the resource room, the complete environment should be sensitized. Then training of teachers. Training of teachers is the crucial thing, where every teacher should be sensitized. If the child promotes from one class to another, the other teacher also should be aware of the problem and identify these resource persons who can deal with the system created ones, who can deal with special needs. And if you have any other disability, if you require any therapeutic intervention, those therapists also need to be employed. And then a counselor cannot teach. Counselor can address other issues because she is not trained in subject methodology. She can do a good job for identification, behavioral issues, counseling the parents, counseling the peers. This she can do very well. So after that, assessment, certification to be identified. Like if the child we find is not being progressing because of the resource room facilities, then further investigation need to take place for LD, because LD is a hidden handicap. It is not visibly, you can label them ki the child may be having a LD. So after certain intervention, you will come to know the child is not able to perform. Then the further investigation need to take place, certification need to take place. After certification, then only we can give those accommodations and adaptations suggested by the CBSE. And the second approach, as already suggested, my concern is the APPS children. because that is below 5 years of age, the maximum brain development takes place. If you don't address at that point, you're pushing the child towards disability. And then we want to address, that is a huge effort. Why can't we address in the previous? So for that also, AVA and EVES should come together and work out a plan where the child can have a smooth transition from pre-primary school to a primary school. Then if these children are not able to perform, in system created ones, definitely they will show improvement, leaps and bounds. I've seen, and I've out of my experience, I've found out it is that these children, they need some encouragement and they will beautifully perform very well in the futuristic classes. They have a lot of potential. The other children who have special needs, they may not be able to cope up with the regular mainstream education. For them, NIS. And as sir mentioned, Umatuli ma'am and Karkarduma, that is the best organization right now. It is a very, like it's a role model and it's an example for that. I'm working for that organization. I go regularly to those, to that Amarjyoti Rehabilitation Center because I teach there. For teacher trainees. So I'm very well aware of that establishment. We can't replicate that kind of model in our schools because we don't have that kind of visible disabilities in our school, because most of the children who have disabilities, they go to Asha school. So we need not pull them out from Asha school, because the parents also want that kind of attention which Asha school gives. They don't want some of the children, they don't want to send them to a regular mainstream school. We need not push them or pull them, because we ourselves are not prepared. We don't have special educators. We have dearth of special educators. So we need not pull. But my concern is that the children we already have, we should not alienate them. That is the major concern. And that is a huge number, 10 to 12%. It's not a small number. And if we say, okay, my APAs are good, or we cannot talk like a corporate school. After 8th standard, why the child is leaving? It's a major concern. And if 10 to 12%, I will say for every parent, the child is 100%. No matter, we are all parents, no matter we talk about the numbers, the achievement of the school performance or whatever it is, unless your child is successful in the stream of education, you will not be happy. You may talk about the country as a whole, that Google CEO's picture is from India, but your heart bleeds if your son doesn't do well. So ultimately, for the parent, for the soldier, the child is 100%. Then we can go for skill development. After 10th standard, I found one more trend is, we are not able to give admission to all the students, because many students, they pass out with 50% or 60%. Right now, during our age, getting 70% is a huge thing. Now everyone needs to get 90%. In our schools also, we have, I totally agree with the administration. They have their own set of problems, why they are not able to give admission to all the children who pass out 10th standard. They have their own set of reasons. I'm not, but here the reality check is, most of the students after 10th standard, they're not getting admissions in our own schools for 11th and 12th. This is a fact. And most of the children, because my own unit children I've seen, and even in NSG, I found so many army children, they're not able to get admission in army schools for 11th and 12th. To achieve this quality education for all and growth, this is what I thought about it. Thanks for having given me this opportunity and patient hearing. And I always say education is a collective effort and a collective responsibility of each and everyone. As the same, I would like to agree with each and every word what General Raina had said. So it is a collective responsibility. Everyone has to contribute towards this issue. I will end with this quote, because she is my guiding light. And this concept of inclusion and this dream I dreamt long back. Optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence. This optimism, I could see this light and given me this opportunity, and I found that AVA and EVES is coming together, and you catered this, General Raina, you catered this year for inclusive education. Really, indeed, very much grateful to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Ravi, for a very well laid out talk and given a ground reality. I am aware about that, your percentages, because I never really believe in percentages. I believe that numbers are much larger than what national figures of 2.2 to 2.6 is being talked about.
Yes,
That,
yes.
that is more because the figures come from hospitals. The hospitals are only by those who are either visibly seen, because there's a large number which has got a stigma, therefore parents don't even declare their children. The
True.
third part, which you highlighted, brought out, is the system created in our environment. I believe there's a larger number than what we have generally been talking about. Thank you for at least sharing your thoughts and concerns on that part. I'm also very thankful to you on this subject teachers also playing an important role in this inclusivity.
Yes.
This is one target that we thought we should put them through 5 days capsule. And of course, this National Institute of Open Schooling and the vocational training, these are the issues already in our radar. But
Yes.
as President Awa keeps saying, let's bite only what we can chew. So I just deliberately kept them out of my talk as of now. But 1 year from now, we shall be looking after this NOS route and vocational training. Thank you very much. Now, may I request Dr. V.S. Ravindran, he is an eminent education psychologist, to share his views. Over to you, Dr. Sir.
General, can I ask a question before I begin? What is my bottom line? How much time do I have, General?
20 minutes. I know Mrs. Ravi has taken 10 minutes more. Not to
No,
worry.
no.
We go with 20 minutes. Okay.
Do I take my 20 minutes or should I?
About 20 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just wanted to confirm because I don't want next publications. I'm beginning, good morning, friends and the dignitaries. I'm extremely happy, even though my association with AVIS has been long, but last so many years I have not been able to associate very closely. But thank you for still remembering me and calling me for a webinar. Thank you very much. As you already know, I'm a psychologist. So psychologists will speak psychology. And therefore, you see, for me, inclusion is not a program, but it is a mindset. Inclusion is a belief. Inclusion is an attitude. So we will talk, I'll spend some time about that. And also, I'm also supposed to talk about the India's journey towards what you call inclusion. You see, let me be very, very frank. I mean, to me, many a times it looked like it is like the old wine in a new bottle. I'm not talking about this project, what you are talking about, because our country specifically had been inclusive thousands of years back also. I mean, we were not non-inclusive. This all started later on. If you remember the Gurukul days, we were inclusive. I mean, they never segregated. They never kept people away. Everybody was welcome to the Guru, and they used to sit whether under a tree or anywhere. Yes, children who did not want to pursue the academic aspects of what you call education, they were given other opportunities. Somebody tended cattle, somebody looked after the garden, somebody did this. So our country had a history of thorough inclusion. I mean, it is not like anything which has come very new to us. And moreover, I don't know how many of you remember the movie Lagan, if you remember. This person called Kachra, whatever the purpose for giving him that particular name, he had social handicaps also, physical also, but ultimately he was responsible for the team's winning. So what I'm wanting to say, we are just to be reminded only, no need of what you call, it is absolutely we were inclusive in our attitude. And if I can share one of my personal experience, when I was small and I was very young, maybe the primary classes and all, I had a friend, rather 1 or 2 years elder to me, whose name was Apu, who had polio-affected legs, and he was virtually, I don't know, he cannot stand up also, just pulling his legs and walking only with the help of his hands. I cannot remember where any one of us ever thinking he is different. Rather, I could remember we being jealous of him. Why we were jealous, I tell you. I mean, because of using his hands too much, he had very strong muscles on his arms, and we were always going and touching his arm and seeing, oh my God, what a beautiful dole, eh? Apu, you are, I wish we were also like you. This was what we used to think. I don't remember ever, because at that age, anybody in the society, and this is not a story, this is a real life experience. I still remember when we consider a person having such kind of a handicap, generally his life becoming very difficult and this and all. Rather, I mean, not only he married, his marriage was a love marriage. And as fate would have it, his wife died, I mean, after a few years of his marriage, after first childbirth, and he married again. And it was again a love marriage. So we were inclusive, we were very, very inclusive. But unfortunately, I don't want to blame everything on a foreign power. But ever since the British system of education came to our country, and we thought, I mean, separating children, teaching them would, somebody wants to say something? Okay. So things started changing, and we thought, I mean, in our wisdom, those days, yes, probably, I mean, if a teacher had a homogeneous, almost near homogeneous class, it would be wonderful her to teach, and she will teach these children better. And this is the beginning of the so-called special educators. Special schools, we never had them. And we were well off. We were absolutely wonderful those days. When this system came into practice also, very soon we realized, I mean, oh no, this is not working. Because since we could not create a special world for them, we understood, oh my God, this is not going to bring in any effort. Because the children who were coming out of the so-called special schools, when they came to the normal world, and these children who are coming from the so-called normal schools, I mean, I am absolutely against the very word normal. I mean, when people start talking about when compared to normal children, Rakesh is not doing well, that very concept is wrong. When we talk about somebody being normal, we are, I mean, indirectly what we call saying this particular child I'm talking about is not normal. So in international level, we have stopped the word even normal. We only say typically developing children versus not typically developing children. That's all. So since we could not create a separate world for them, we realized very early, oh my God, this is not going to work out. Then again in our wisdom, I mean, we thought, let us integrate. I mean, what ma'am was also saying. I want, because principals and other people are also listening. I know the AVA and AVIS authorities are already aware of all these things. I thought I will elaborate a little more. It was like in the special school, children were in square pegs schools, and in the what you call so-called typically developing children's general education school, it was holes. So what we thought, what we talked about the medical model, there is something wrong with these children who are having any kind of special needs, and they have to be repaired and put into the holes. The holes will not change. The teacher will not change. The child has to adapt or fail. That was what, I mean, again, we found, no, it is unethical, immoral, and it is not going to bring in any results. That is why, I mean, the whole concept of inclusion started. And when we are talking about inclusion, it is not the lack of ability, what you call infrastructure only. It is basically the barrier is psychological. The barrier is the fear. The barrier is the mindset of people which is the barrier. Everything else is fine. I mean, we can still accommodate them. People can be there. Everything is this. So first step, I'm not advising, I mean, you, but the first and foremost test or a lot of this is advocacy. Advocacy with parents, advocacy with school principals, advocacy with teachers. I mean, even before training, the sensitization and advocacy is very, very important. Without that, I mean, nothing is going to, I mean, bring any results, because, I mean, ever since the Right to Education Act had come, parents got aware and they started demanding inclusion. And you know what was happening in the country? I mean, schools accepted children. They could not say, I mean, no to admission. But after admitting, I'm so sad to say, it is not specific to any particular kind of schools I'm talking about. I'm talking about, in general, they were virtually dumped in the classroom. It is not inclusion. It is not inclusion. Bringing in children and dumping them, and whatever happens to them happens. So acceptance was not the issue. I mean, admission was not the issue. The issue was even the teacher who was scared. I mean, let me tell you the term. They are, I mean, I worked with both private, government, and other kinds of all educational setup. Teachers are scared. I mean, they are scared this particular child will disturb my class. That is a teacher-centered approach to education altogether. Because if the teacher wish, oh my God, if only this rat-faced boy was absent, my class would have been wonderful. Then it is an attitudinal issue. It is not an issue of lack of time or, I mean, expertise also. And most of the teachers, I mean, it is not they don't want to do, but they are baffled. I mean, one child is getting up and running, another child is standing up and asking, am I a good boy? And third one is just hitting somebody and running this side, and that's it. We can understand. They are baffled, bewildered. What to do? I mean, and at the very same time, the so-called normal or the typically developing children also have to be looked after. If they are a little, I mean, lagging behind, other parents will come and fight with them. I mean, my child would have done better if only these children. So what I would start with is, our country had been very inclusive, but we lost our inclusive attitude on the road to modernization. When we started modernizing and, I mean, what you call blindly accepting certain systems, we lost our inclusive attitude and mindset. So first of all, we will have to work on the inclusive attitude and our mindset of people. I mean, counsel them, advocacies, I mean, talking to them. And also, one more danger is the moment the term inclusion is, in the meantime, let me congratulate, I mean, your organization for giving up the medical model. I'm so happy. And when you said, I mean, it is not only children with disabilities, you are calling children with educational needs, I mean, special educational needs, you are accepting the social model. And that is the only, we cannot work on a model where we have to repair people. No, we have to accept them, make the necessary modification, equip them, and then let us make them capable of living in this world. If you look at that, every child in a class is different. That way you require 40 separate IEPs. No two children are equal. So why cry about it? Children will be different. Children will be different. We can deal with it. And in the meantime, while Ravi madam was talking, I mean, one small, I am not responding to ma'am, please don't misunderstand me. I mean, she was again and again mentioning about the all promotion or no detention policy. No, not that I am a representative of the government, but I am part of that system and this system also. There was a very strong reason behind the government beginning this system of no detention about 14 years of age. The major reason was, we thought, I mean, the government thought, at least let these children attend schools. They will at least be there. As Joseph Goebbels said, tell lies the whole day, something will stay. Similarly, we thought, tell good things the whole day, something will stick. Because in the interior parts of our country, one detention means the child will never see the doors of the school again. And especially if it was a girl child, she would not have ever been sent. She will be straight away sent to the kitchen. So government's plan was basically to at least retain the children in the system, and they will at least know, I will have to wait for my turn. They will at least know, I mean, communicate a sentence or two. Maybe the basic, what we call functional level of academics, at least. That was the idea. So, I mean, schools like yours, schools like Army, I mean, schools need not take into what you call account it literally. I mean, we can still work. We can work on the, what we call NCERT's MLL. We can make sure that before a child goes from class 4th to 5th, our teachers can see to it the child at least acquires the minimum levels of learning and go into it. Nobody will ask, I mean, nobody will ask us, without that you promote, but we cannot detain means the child should at least acquire minimum levels of learning. That's all. So that was the basic purpose. So obviously it had its own disadvantages when we are talking about other kinds of schools. And one or two other important things I would like to point out. You see, when I heard from the Asha schools, and even though I was I had little vague ideas about this thing, but today, after ma'am's presentation, I am, much more now aware of your system. You see, I don't know, I'm not recommending any model suddenly coming onto the platform one day, and ma'am has been working with the system for such a long time, and so you know better. But what I am having a slight idea or thought process is, when we have to call our schools inclusive, then the primary responsibility of the child who we are trying to include should be the class teacher and the subject teachers. I mean, the primary placement of the child is in the classroom. And what is going to happen, even though you may recruit more and more special educators, still, I mean, we will always be short of supply and the demand will be always more. So I don't know, I mean, whether it can be workable with your system or not. What I would have suggested, I mean, obviously the special educator is in the system. If you can afford 2, if you can afford 3, 2, 3 also can be there. That's not an issue. But she will almost function also as a case manager. Case manager in the sense, there will be children, and I'm very happy about certain things ma'am was mentioning, like, you know, many a time, one fine morning, we find a child is dyslexic, but whereas he didn't have any dyslexia, nothing. Because of the academic gaps, because of the fact that the child had come from a vernacular school to an English medium, because the child did not learn what you are supposed to learn in the previous class, suddenly if you assess the child, he will appear to be having learning disability. But it is not. It was, as very rightly pointed out by ma'am, system created. It is a system created thing. The gaps were not addressed, and one fine morning he became special. That is what happened. So, what the model, what I was thinking, first of all, as I told you, advocacy is very important. Without that, the teacher will be baffled. She will only because, you know, it is almost like the corporal punishment. The government has banned corporal punishment, and many teachers, especially the physical education teachers, have told me, can I speak in Hindi? I hope most of you understand Hindi also. You see, the physical education teachers sometimes tell me, Dr. Saab, आप लोग सब मिल करके हमारे हाथ से डंडा तो निकाल दिया और उसका बदल में कुछ दिया भी नहीं. This is what they will talk about later on, because the tendency to hit is still there, but only because there is a ban, they are not. No, the teacher has to accept it as their responsibility. And many a time I have asked a teacher, I mean, when they said, sir, ये सब कुछ हमारे सिर पे आ गया, अभी another responsibility inclusion also. वैसे time नहीं है, syllabus complete नहीं हो रहा. I don't have enough time to complete the syllabus. Now you are bringing in another, responsibility for us as inclusion. I mean, they were comfortably settled in the special school. Why you are bringing them into the so-called, normal school and be comfortable? Then I have always asked the teacher one question. The question was, imagine you or one of your close relatives or friends had a child with any special need. Where would you want the child to study? Would you want the child to be studying in a place where only similar or such children are there? Or would you want the child to be studying in a place where he can also learn from the peers? And many a time we are mistaken. Children do not study maximum from the teachers. They study from the peer. And if they do not have challenging peer group, if they do not have something to yearn for, something to look forward to, their capability and their ambition will also. And there is another story and another school of thought which says, Dr. Ravindran, if we bring these children into this classroom, they will feel inferior, they will have inferiority complex. Wrong. Absolutely no. That way, every child in the class should have inferiority complex because somebody else will be better than him, another will be better than him. So, rather than not harming them, bringing them into an atmosphere which is challenging enough, where there is peer learning happening, they will benefit, and these children will also benefit. And many, I'm so sorry to say certain very strong things, certain schools in the country and even in the capital I know of, what they do is they do ability grouping. Children with higher intellectual ability will be in class A, and below that will be class B, below that will be class C, and slow learners, there is a separate class. You know what happens? Do you know what happens? Forget about the children's growth. Even the teacher's growth is hampered. Why? The teacher who is teaching a class which is designated as a slow learners class, what happens is she knows this is not a challenging class for me that way. So I don't have to grow anymore. So she stops growing, she stops reading, she stops going for further education. So we will have to have an inclusive atmosphere. So, about the roadmap, when you were talking about, what I was about to say, it all depends on the numbers. When ma'am was presenting and General was talking about, I was just very keenly listening, and what is the national and international averages and what is happening in the armed forces, army schools. Obviously, that discrepancy I am seeing. So it is maybe it is little comfortable with your system that I am seeing. Maybe you can even afford the special educators you appoint to do some good work with these children. But ultimately, no subject teacher, no class teacher, nobody, or even the principal should feel this child is the responsibility of the special educator or the counselor. No, the responsibility of the child is with that general education teacher. She is having the ownership, and the others are only to help. This is the model I would have, obviously what you call recommended. So it is, oh, somebody is commenting, sir, I also have the same sentiment. Anyway, I will not be now able to read the chats, probably because of the time. When I have time with the question and answer session, maybe I will look into that. I'm very happy. You see, so we are absolutely against any kind of ability grouping. We are absolutely against segregation. The children will be included, and the ownership is with the class teacher or the subject teacher. The special educator and the counselor are there to help them. So we will never hear from a teacher, no, this is child is having this responsibility. Now the special educator should look after. But obviously, you and I, we have the responsibility to equip the teachers. Teachers are not wanting to work. They don't know what to do. If a child with, even moderate level of autism is in the school, the teacher doesn't know. She doesn't know when the child have meltdowns? What do I do? I mean, when the child tells me, I still remember, I call myself a great psychologist, but one day I was visiting a school and the child was with ASD, told me, "Good morning, doctor." I said, "Good morning." Again, he said, "Good morning, doctor." I said, "Good morning." "Good morning, doctor." He got so angry. I was baffled. I didn't know, I mean, why he is getting angry. Then, I mean, there is a system called shadow teacher. So the shadow teacher came running to me and said, "Sir, you were supposed to get answer like, 'Good morning, Rajiv.'" Oh my God, I didn't know that. So what all will bring down, precipitate what we call meltdown in a child? How changes will affect a child with, spectrum disorders, and how the teacher should be careful to give a structure. So our work will be, obviously, I'm very happy to hear that you are further equipping the, what we call special educators. That is always, any amount of training is wonderful. But side by side, my very strong suggestion will be, we will equip our teachers much more. We will equip, every teacher should be, we always say, every good teacher is a special educator. Every good teacher is a teacher counselor. This is what we used to say. So our, model, can, especially looking at the, you said the resources and I was very thrilled to hear this. The first time an organization saying this, in front of me, we have the money. I felt, you won't believe it. I will tell everywhere I hear, when we want to do everything, we don't have resources. We don't have resources. The principals listening to this, I wish I was one of the principals in one schools and sitting and listening to it. So I'm feeling so thrilled when you said we have the resources, and I can see, specialists are also already, I feel so guilty. I was left behind. I didn't, contribute much to the whole course. I'm so sorry. I will try my level best later on too. But today, because the time is flying very fast, so I will not go on and on. So I'll just try to conclude by saying 2-3 things. I will repeat and I'll just stop and leave the forum to Professor Usha. She will be, speaking with you. See, friends, one is, it is a myth and misconception. Somebody has to taught Indians inclusion. We were inclusive, we will be inclusive, and we are inclusive. Yes, we are not very clear about the technical terms and everything. Maybe that we will have to re-educate our educators, and bring us back to the system, that we were blissfully there. Then second, I said, advocacy. Without advocacy, if you do any program, without proper advocacy, the programs will not be accepted. Teacher will consider this as another burden put on my head. So we will have to buy them out. We will have to market it to the teachers. We will have to, and then it will come from within. And every teacher should understand inclusion is not a duty, but it is also my right to include. It is my happiness to include, that she should be including happily. So teacher training and teacher orientation and advocacy. And the parents of the so-called normal or typically developing children are another barriers. So we will have to even don't only orient the parents of children having disabilities or other kinds of inclusive needs, we will have to orient the general public. Why sitting near a child having intellectual disability is not going to infect your child. A child with ASD, if there is in the class, children are the most inclusive ones. You won't believe it. Please take my word for it. If given the opportunity, more than all of us elders, children beautifully include every other child. If only we are inclusive in our attitude and all. So we will orient the parents of the so-called typically developing children also, and the whole system, including principals. I don't mind, even principals should undergo training properly, not only just a what we call, I nowadays call school principals, not what we call instructional leaders, not only motivers. I would like to call the school principal inclusion leaders. That is the term I would like to use. The principals who are listening, you should be the leaders of inclusion leaders also. So it is a wonderful idea to include them in the training programs also. And I'm extremely happy that such a great initiative has started. As usual, I remember decade away, I mean, it was Avis, I mean, which started that training program called Teacher as a Counselor. And I'm very thrilled to tell I was part of the whole initiative. And now you are beginning something many people have hesitated and said, I don't have money, I cannot have, who will do, only bringing up barriers only. But I'm so thrilled to hear where people are not saying how we cannot do it, but how we can do it. Wish you all the best. I will look forward to, I mean, whatever small little way, I'm a little running around kind of a person, but I will be always available for small little, whatever you feel. Wish you all the best and great success, all the authorities. Thank you very much. I will stop.
Thank you, Dr. Ravindran. You have summed it up so beautifully. And I can assure you that we will call principals as inclusion leaders. And it's really good to hear that we were and we are and we shall continue to be inclusive by our nature. And as highlighted by you, that advocacy is the first part of that kahani. Parental pressure brought us to some level, but I suppose in years to come, it will be the child pressure who will force his parents to put him into a normal school. And I'm also glad to hear that actually every teacher, every general category teacher has to be a special educator and a counselor. I hold that very close to my heart and belief. Thank you very much. And now may I request Professor Dr. Usha Grover, who has been very regularly interacting with us, to take on the subject, which is modalities for implementing inclusive education, focus on academics and curriculum. Over to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everybody, all the viewers, and my special thanks to Dr. Raina and Shaida for, giving me this invitation, for allowing me to be on this platform and sharing this platform with all the distinguished panelists. And the earlier panelists, Dr. Vanilla and Professor Ravindran Kumar, they have made my job very easy. So let me just get on the subject because there is paucity of time already. So let me just fetch my, this thing. Share screen.
Skype, which
Yeah. So, everyone is talking about inclusion. It's a burning topic, right? And but let us see how far we have achieved. It's not a new concept, though. Like we started talking about inclusive education as old as when the national policy of education came into existence. We did talk about integrated education then. So by the time, after that, so much of thinking has evolved, our ideas have evolved, we have seen how children learn, and so much revolution, in the field of special education. And we all saw that our children can learn in the inclusive environment. So basically, I will not go into the definition of inclusion now because everyone has said, but what it actually means, are we all on the same pedestal? What are we talking about? When we are talking about inclusion, what does it mean? I'm not going to talk about the definition. I'm only going to talk about what does it mean? So there are three key points. Basically, it is education for all. It is education for all in the regular school. And second, it is education for all, keeping in view their abilities, characteristics, and needs. And number three, accommodating all in the inclusive and accessible environment. Not only accessible in the infrastructure, but also curriculum accessibility, the academic accessibility. So that's what. But before I get on to the subject, let me just say, we need to believe in the following beliefs. You know, unless we believe in these things, we can't proceed further. We have to know that our children can learn. All the children, including children with disabilities. I won't say the term disabilities. We basically use the term SEN, special educational needs. You know, because disability is a stigmatized term. So when I will be using the term SEN. And we all are different, we all know it. But we need to celebrate these differences. We need to embrace these differences. And everyone is involved in creating a difference, you know, and so are our friends with disability. So, and we all know why inclusive education. Why are we talking about it all the time? Because this is the only solution when we can deal with all children. You know, like if we have to even reach to the unreached children, this is the only way, because we have regular schools all over India. And it is through regular schools that we can teach our disabled or SEN friends. So I will not go into the detail because, you know, the time is really short. But I would like to highlight on the difference between the inclusion and integration, because most of the people say, what is the difference, ma'am? Many people say integrate them. Many people say include them. So what is the difference? So let me just say in a very simpler terms, you know, when we were, even in NP, we talked about integration. You know, earlier we used to follow the model of diagnostic prescriptive model. Say, for example, diagnose a person, try to find out what are the deficiencies of a person and try to give the support to compensate for those deficiencies. So this is what we had been doing, right? But then what are we doing? It is child-centered. Now, when the second child will come, we'll do the same thing. The child will do, we do the same thing. So only one person is involved. What is happening in inclusion? In inclusion, we are focusing on the system. We are focusing on the system, make a system in such a way that everybody can be fitted in. So it is not just child-centered. It is, the focus is not on the child. The focus is on the system. As Dr. Vanilla also has pointed out, that there are so many learning difficulties which are arising out of the system. So integration is basically extension of special school. Whereas when we are talking about inclusion, we are reflective of our school. What all should be given to include everyone. As Dr. Raina mentioned, we have 21 disabilities, 71 with disabilities in the new RPWD Act. So how do we accommodate all of them? And then, you know, integration calls upon, it is basically integration, the term we used to use for disability children. But inclusion, we are talking about everyone, including people with disability. Integration calls for special needs to be fit in the existing schools, whereas in inclusion, the focus is on the school, on the system. So, hamari duty kya hai? Our duty is to make the system in such a way that anybody who is coming to my school for admission can get a learning environment which is as per his needs and abilities. That is the focus. So, as I said, it is in integration, we follow the diagnostic prescriptive, but here we follow the collaborative approach in inclusion. So in inclusion, we are removing the barriers. It's a process, you know, and we have already started a process. Dr. Raina has already planned the roadmap, which is so comprehensive. And I'm so glad that the whole plan is there and you just have to implement. In fact, half of the things have already been implemented. So, sir, I would be basically talking about in the classroom. Everyone is talking about like this. I'm talking about a teacher in the classroom when she's in the inclusive classroom. So what will an inclusive classroom consist of? I would request all the viewers, just imagine, you know, just imagine your classroom will have regular children obviously I wouldn't say the term normal children. With Dr. Ravindran has just told you nobody is normal. We are all tabs, temporarily abled body. Anybody can become disabled anytime. You know, so it's regular children. Children with sensory handicap, that is VI and HI. Children with intellectual disability, where the intelligence is involved. Children having autism, children having orthopedically handicapped, and many others. As I said, it's a zero reject policy. Dr. Vanilla has also pointed out. So the time has come, we cannot say no to anybody as compared to the time when it was based on our whims and fancies. You know, we could say no to somebody, oh, I don't have the resources, so I can't take this child, you know, because I don't have the resources. Or my teachers don't want extra burden on the child. So now the time has come that we cannot say no. I'll tell you why. We had policies earlier also, but now we have a policy which is binding us legally. So I'll come to that. So this is the classroom. Now, a teacher is in the classroom facing all these children. The ratio would be, you know, different. I may have 40 children, or may have 30 children who are regular, maybe 2 children with VI and 1 children with ID, and so many other proportions, you know. So imagine that class. Now, a teacher handling this class, please, we need to ask this question. Anybody who's handling this class need to ask this question. Do I have the skills and competencies to teach all the children in my class? I'm saying teach and learn. So in other words, can I deal with the diversities? Can I embrace all the diversities of these children through an inclusive and accessible learning environment? That's a big question we need to answer. And if the answer is no, that means we are not prepared. So how do we prepare? So in a very simple way, you know, I made this acronym by way of which I explained to all the children, these are the ingredients in my experience, and this will include everything what Dr. Raina has just mentioned, and Dr. Vanilla has mentioned, Dr. Ravindran has mentioned, and some of my experience I will be sharing through this. I means infrastructure. What do I mean by infrastructure? The infrastructure should be disabled friendly. Yes, it should be disabled friendly. It should be accessible. Anybody, even having children with disabilities, they should be able to access the infrastructure, meaning thereby, do we have lifts? Do we have ramps? Do we have lifts with the, you know, sound signages? Do we have signages? Do we have braille symbols? Or do we have adaptation in the toilets? Do we have adaptations for wheelchair users? All these questions we need to answer. You know, say for example, if a child with visual handicap come to my school and he wants to go to the library, and the library is on the 2nd floor. So, but there is no lift, there is no ramp. So that means the infrastructure is not accessible to him. So basically, this infrastructure has to be accessible. It has to be disabled friendly, so that anybody of all the categories of the disabilities should have access to this infrastructure. So we need to see now, do we have a tactile path? Yeah, everything, you know. So this is the physical I'm talking about. I'm talking about the inside classroom. So now my child has entered my school because he had the accessibility to my school. Now the second is national level policies. As I said earlier, it was on the whims and you know, fancies. My faith, you know, my like, do I want to help people or not? Bechara hai le lo karke. You know, but now we have moved away from charity and welfare. We have moved away from this, and we have moved to now their rights, their empowerment. So it's their right. And let me tell you, first they are human beings. Everybody is a child first, and then child having this problem. So when we are talking about inclusion, all this labeling will go away, should go away. In fact, the time will come when we will not even call special education, when we'll not even call inclusive education. It's education. Everybody is part of it. And that's the vision. That's the vision we are looking for. So now we have the policies. We need to, I will go back to that just to tell you, these are the policies. Because you all are professionals, you must know the long road we have traveled. You know, it started in 1986. Then we have project, and we learned so many things through that project, which was conducted by NCERT. Then we had plan of action in 1992. We have also got, international policies which we have signed and we have ratified. For example, PWD Act also came after we signed Salamanca Statement in Spain. So all these things, and that's how first time PWD Act came into existence for our children. Before that, they were all under Lunacy Act. And did you know that? So this was the situation. But now we have all these policies. Then Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan came, Vivaco Millennium. Then on the basis of that, we made national policy for persons with disabilities. But currently, NCERT then said, earlier we used to say integrated education till primary, then middle, and down. Then now we have come to IDSS, which means integrated education, inclusive education till the secondary stage. Even if there is one child, he should not be deprived of getting that education. So these are the policies. I just wanted to bring you to that level, just to see that how much, we have traveled, the kind of, to kind of tell people, well, it's a policy. We need to believe, we can't say no to anybody. But still, we could see that children are still denied admission in the school. And after, even when they are given admission, the learning is not happening as per their characteristics. And after some time, they drop out. And we have just seen in the study also, the pilot project also. The second is capacity building. Very, very, very important. What am I saying? This is my classroom. I know I have to do it. I have to teach the children who are in my classroom. Now the question is, I'm not equipped. I don't have the skills. So capacity building of everybody, especially the teachers. But I don't want to put everything on the teachers, as Dr. Ravindran just said. वो कहेंगे सब कुछ हमारे सर पे डाल दिया. It's not one person, it's a collaborative effort. But the classroom teacher, the special educator needs to be trained. She has to develop the skills in identifying the children with various disabilities, not only ID, not only VI, not only HI, everybody. Because she is the person who's dealing with the classroom. She shouldn't even only identify and, differential identification, differential assessment. What we generally were in habit of saying, oh, ye bachche ko learning disability. So let's not say that, because the labeling will go a long way and it may stigmatize the child in the coming years also. Identification, assessment, after assessment, now what do I teach? Curriculum. Curriculum is the major thing what a teacher should know. I hear from teachers, madam, what do we teach our children who are having special needs, who belong to SEN category? So some people say same textbooks, some people say no same textbook. Nobody is clear what to teach. Well, we say, how can you teach the same textbook? A child who has not even learned two-letter word and his age is 8 years old and he belongs to ID category and he's 8 years old, he should have been in 3rd class, but he can't even read two-letter words. You think he can do the textbooks of 3rd class? So that's my question. So what do we teach? What should be the curriculum? So we need to define. What is curriculum? So I think there will be variations. We can't just have one model. There will be some children who will be doing the same curriculum, but with extra support, with extra, additional kind of assisted devices. But there will be some, we need to modify the syllabus, we'll modify the curriculum. There will be some we need to adapt, making it less, making it easy. I'll come to that also. How do we do that? I'll come to that also. So, how can we do that? Say, for example, I'll come to that. You are teaching something digestive system. So when you taught digestive system, so instead of just telling label the marks, label all the digestive organs, you have given the clue niche, and isme se aapko dhoondna hai, and you have also given the first letter. So the child already has the clue. Because he's disabled, he can't do everything on his own. So I'm just telling you, this is the support, this is the modification, adaptations I've done of the lesson plan, which I'm teaching to a class third class child. So similarly, I've given this diagram, not the whole book, explaining what is the function of each, part of the digestive system. And then something like this. I'm not saying give me the various, systems, I mean, which are the parts which are involved in the digestive system. I'm just telling them, giving them here, I'm just telling them to put in order. So making the task easy, to doing the task analysis, because my aim is to teach the child so that he learn what I intend to teach rather than to fail him and make his self-concept further down. So similarly, again, so I'm just showing that this is possible. People tell me, how is it possible? These things are possible, but when we have subsequent workshops on inclusive education regarding curriculum, we'll do these things in detail, taking each lesson from each subject and then modifying it. So this is what I wanted to say. Let me come back to what I was talking. So I was talking about the capacity building. So curriculum, and then we need to have, everybody can't fit into this, what I've just talked about. Some people will be needing alternate curriculum, like Vanilla just pointed out NOS. But I say, why can't we have more NOS? Like, NCERT came out with minimum levels of learning. We have to develop minimum levels of learning for all classes, for all subjects. If we want our friends who are disabled or who are having SEN, they should take part in the inclusive education in a very successful manner. So I put, these are all ingredients, they all have to be there. Then the legislation reform. We had the policies, but we didn't have the, binding for us. So you must have heard about RPWD Act 2016, but before that, I would talk about UNCRPD. I think Sir has already talked about the chapter on education. It has got, 50 articles, but the article on 24 talks about that all the parties recognize the right of persons with disabilities to education with a view to realizing this right without discrimination and on the basis of equal opportunity. State parties shall ensure inclusive education. So, and if we don't follow this, there is a punishment. That's why I say this is the legal. So we have a legal binding also now. So on the basis of this, we have RPWD made, which was the replacement of PWD Act 1995. So earlier we had, in PWD Act, we had 14 chapters. In RPWD Act, we have 17 chapters. Now the chapter on education is telling us this because we are concerned about education, chapter on education. Appropriate government and the local authority shall endeavor that all educational institutes funded or recognized by them provide inclusive education to children with disability. Admit them without discrimination and provide education and opportunities for sports and everything. So this is also talking about inclusive education. So now the question is, how? So the how is this, all the ingredients. And now do we all stand on the same pedestal? Do we have the same concept of inclusion? Some people say inclusion is सब बच्चों को अपने स्कूल में एडमिशन कर लो. Is that inclusion? Is that integration? No. So what is inclusion? I think, can we follow the same textbook? So I think people like us who are so-called experts in the field of inclusive education and the administration and all the stakeholders should have the same, we all should have the same concept, what we believe in inclusion, the practicality, the practical aspects of inclusion, what we are looking for. So that's what we should all, the practical, the definition of inclusion. Then the sensitization. I think my earlier speaker, Dr. Vanilla and Sir, Dr. Raina Sir has in very detailed, elaborative manner has explained sensitization of who all, sensitization of everybody, all the stakeholders. If I take you again to the next ties, all these are the stakeholders, These are the stakeholders we are talking about. Regular teachers, parents, I think people have mentioned about this, headmaster, anybody and everybody, helpers, everybody, whosoever is dealing with children with disabilities. should be sensitized about disabilities, how we need to behave with them, how we need to understand them, and what is our role towards them. All local education authority, children with special education needs, medical doctors, therapists, you know, everybody. So holistic approach, as everyone is talking about, all need to be trained. It's not just teacher. Teacher has to take care of the class. She plays the pivotal role, but everyone is involved. So friends, all the policies have given distinctly a mandate for inclusive education, whether it is UNCRPD or it is RPWD, which are the recent policies. But so basically we can say inclusion is our official policy and we cannot kind of go away from this. So now the question is whether I like it or don't like it. Many people still come and say, बहुत नुकसान हो रहा है बच्चों का. नुकसान इसलिए हो रहा है because we have not put our system in place. But whether we like it or not, we have to make our system in such a way is so rich and so collaborative that everybody with any kind of mild, moderate, severe handicap should be fitted in. So again, coming back to this, sensitization, innovativeness. Friends, this is a new concept. Although I say this is not a new concept, ever since I got into this field, we were talking about integration, we were talking about inclusive education. You know, if we don't bring our innovativeness, our imagination, our, creativity out, I don't think we can deal with the children with disability. And I tell everybody, like same thing, which I want to teach, simple yellow color. We teach a normal person, like this is a yellow color. Well, this is a black color. I'm wearing a black color blouse. I can't teach my child with SEN, with special educational needs, that this is a black color. I need to do it in a special educational way. And the pedagogy will change, which will, come in capacity building of the teacher. So if I don't know those teaching strategies, obviously I'll definitely fail in my inclusive classroom. Now, even if I know my pedagogy of teaching these things, innovativeness. I have taught, our children don't learn in one go. Our children don't learn sitting the way I am sitting. They need to be taught in multisensory way, because some of them are audio learners, some of them are visual learners, some of them are kinesthetic learners. Nobody can learn the way I'm sitting here for the last 2 hours and you say you will teach me something. No, there will be no learning. So they have to be just going around, doing things, see, doing things, listen and do things. So innovativeness. So the same thing of teaching color can be played through a game. It can be a dance game, it can be a treasure game, you have to find something, it can be a Scrabble game, it can be anything. I can talk about that because that's my favorite thing. So I always say a teacher can't be sitting in his chair. If you deal with the inclusive classroom, I would say this hold good for any teacher. When I was doing my teaching this thing, I realized that a teacher who has a CLS, this is my own discovery, so please don't quote me. CLS means chair loving syndrome. If a teacher has chair loving syndrome, I think it's very difficult to get across to your learners. So you have to be with them, going around the classroom, finding out where exactly the child is doing a mistake. So your creativity has to come. Creativity in terms of, I've written a book also on that, how to teach during play, fun and learn. So organization, what Dr. Raina is doing right now. He has given us a very comprehensive plan. We are getting organized. We are getting ready for inclusive. So if all these things are in place, I'm sure that we will be successful in inclusive education, in fulfilling our dreams and our mission and our vision of inclusive education. What I'm viewing, that all children in my class, but they all are learning, So very, very important. Then networking. I think I need not talk about this. Only teacher can't work. We have to have networking with all the stakeholders, everybody in the school, like in our school, we have therapists, we have all the therapists, so that it's a one-stop shop for a parent. Because all our children with SEN, they have associated problems also. So they'll be needing people with, they'll be needing a therapist, occupational therapist, physiotherapists, speech therapists, which is a problem with most of our children. So all this should be part of the school. So, and the networking with all of them, you know, networking with the medical personnel, if they have epilepsy, if they have any other medical problem for which they need to be given medicine. So we should have special teachers, we should have regular teachers, we should have helper, everybody. And then we should also have, you know, as I said, curriculum. So everybody may not be doing the regular curriculum. So some of the children may need to go to the vocational side. So do we have a workshop for them? Do we have the NIOS thing for them, people who cannot do the regular syllabus? All these are questions we need to find answers to before we plunge in, you know. So what is my philosophy of my school? What is my philosophy of my classroom? I need to be very clear about. This clarity is expected of all the teachers, from all the headmasters, from all the administrators, you know, because my philosophy may be different than another school, which is a regular school of Delhi government, you know. So all these things need to be done. Then networking with the ministries, networking with the community. Where will our children go after 12? In the community. So networking with the community, what are the places our children can go and find work? Because after 12, this inclusion will not stop. Our regular children may go to college. We are also thinking of about our children going to college, but we are still thinking. But so far, if they are not going to college, they should find work in community. Have we prepared the community? Have we sensitized the community? So these are, I'm just posing too many questions. Some answers I have, some answers I don't have, but we have to find answers for all these things. So I think if we have all these ingredients in place in timely manner, you know, timely manner, and all simultaneously, not that we have said, okay, every school should have a special educator, but curriculum pata hi nahi padhana kya hai. So then again, they will be lost. Regular teachers are not sensitized. As somebody said, Dr. Ravindran said, regular teachers also need to be given input in special education. Like RCI started foundation course for regular teachers. So many teachers we train in regular school, so that all the regular teachers should have the practical aspects of special education, so that they know what a special education is doing and they can collaborate together. So this networking is very, very important with the ministries, with labor ministry, where they'll be finding the skill development, where our children will be. We are having talks with them that, you know, adapt those jobs which they have for our children. And we already have a meeting to that extent. The first meeting on the pilot project has already started. That how our children with disability, with adaptations can follow, can be adjusted in the, can get employment in the same jobs. I still think I have 5 minutes. So this
ma'am, we are running short of time. If I request you to kindly wind up.
This is what I wanted to say. So basically,
Thank you.
I'm so sorry, but I'm going very fast, but still. So basically, these are the good practices which I just said, the attitude which we need to have, the linkages I've just talked about, the public policies we all have, and we must believe in. Training of journalists, teachers, preparation, existing handful of, when we have to train everybody, preparation of children, strengthen inclusive practices, networking, and everybody. So this is the roadmap I've listed, which I've already spoken about. So I think we must be thinking, everybody must be thinking, it's a problem. It's not a problem. Well, I had been doing work in this field. It's not a problem. It's very challenging, and we have found solutions, and we will find solutions. And I'm sure one day we are going to achieve our mission, and which is soon. So thank you. It may sound utopian, but it's a vision of tomorrow. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Usha Grover, for a very lucid presentation. There is one question from Director AIT, but I suppose you have already answered that. So before I come to my closing remarks, may I request President Awa, in case she is desirous of summing up, ma'am.
No, I think you could do it.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think it has been a great manthan today, and we are on the start line. I wish to quote Winston Churchill, who says, "Never let a good crisis go waste." Now, I will not call COVID-19 as a good crisis, but it has offered us this opportunity to shift to a technology base to go ahead with business as usual, though this business can never be as usual. This curve of coronavirus may flatten at some point in time, but as I suppose life would neither be normal nor carefree as it was till today. So our strategy, it is all encompassing. It caters for disruptions. We are in sync to formulate an academic advisory council on inclusive education, and AWS will assist pilot project schools and management to connect to these advisors. Training have commenced with these webinars, and June will be when we take it further on. Technology, we have to leverage to achieve what the speaker just talked about, networking. It's so important for us to network because the child keeps moving around from one place to other. It remains for me to thank all, especially our President Ava, for all the passionate work that she is putting in, and all those ladies and gentlemen who are on ground, who are passionate about inclusive education. And I find a great future towards achieving this venture, which we actually we have taken on. Today's panelists, they are the guiding lights for us to help us taking the correct direction and also carry out mid-course correction. I thank directors at command level and our own 6 directors here. They have really worked hard over the last 5-6 months to bring the concept paper to what state we are today in. I especially thank various parents and children who are in touch with us and who are actually crying for this transformation that must happen in our system. And I must say it's a systems transformation and not just one part of it. I'll also thank the support structure here, especially we have an ex-Naik Ganguly, who has been the brainchild of making this today Zoom webinar happen. Thank you very much. And it is just the beginning. We have a long way to travel, but I'm confident that together we shall achieve that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.